feels a bit technical, but you said to know the world is to be the world, and to be the world is to love the world. And I was wondering if it's relevant, because Satchitananda is to be the world, or to be the world is to know the world, and to know the world is it relevant which way around you say it?
It's a modern way of saying Satchitananda.
Okay.
For those of us that have, when I say it's a modern way of saying that, it's the equivalent understanding.
Okay.
It's saying the same thing, that our the first thing we know about ourselves for absolute certain is that I am. I am present. Nobody can deny that. And the reason we are absolutely certain that we are present is because we know that we are present. In other words, I am, that is our primary experience, everybody's primary experience, I am. Before we can know anything else, we must first be present. How can we be so sure that I am? Because I know that I am. It is my experience that I am. And the I that knows that I am is the same I that I am. In other words, being and knowing are two inseparable ingredients of myself. In fact, they are not two separate ingredients. They are the same ingredient. We could say they were two qualities of myself, like light and heat are two inseparable qualities of the sun. It's not completely accurate metaphor, but so these two qualities of our essential being are obvious. That is obvious if we stop to look. Well, what is not so immediately obvious is that happiness or peace or love is also inherent in myself. It is a third element, but not a separate element. It is a third quality of myself, and that is not so immediately apparent. We normally think that, yes, I am, and I am aware, but happiness or peace or love is a state that comes and goes. I sometimes experience happiness, I sometimes experience unhappiness. Therefore, happiness is not my ever-present nature. I am obviously present, whether I'm experiencing happiness or unhappiness. So it's obvious that being and knowing are ever present in our essential self. It's not so obvious to begin with that happiness or love are our ever-present nature. So that is really one of the great discoveries to be made. One of the most fundamental discoveries to be made about ourselves, that our nature, under all conditions, in all circumstances, is peace itself. Not just Sat and Chit, not just being and knowing, but Sat, Chit, Ananda, being, knowing, and happiness.
And would you say that comes from the shift from being nothing to everything? Or not even necessarily? What would create that knowing of the love or happiness?
Yes. We went in our contemplation this evening from being a located knower, a particle of knowing, to the open, empty field of pure knowing, or space of awareness, in which there is still a distinction between awareness and the appearances of the body-mind world that appear in it, that flow through it, that disappear into it. So the love aspect comes in when that apparent distinction between the open empty space of awareness and its apparent objects collapses. In fact, it doesn't collapse because it was never really there. It is rather seen to be and to have always been non-existent. That experience, the apparent collapse of the distinction between awareness and its object, is what we call love. It is the absence of an other or an object. We call it love in relation to others, beauty in relation to objects. It's the same experience. And yes, that is revealed when we don't just realize, I am nothing, I am not a thing, I am the open empty space of awareness. I am the field of pure knowing. But when we realize that we are the substance of experience, the reality of experience, the stuff out of which experience is made. And in this case, we are no longer a vast, borderless field of pure knowing. We are this dimensionless knowing, out of which all experience is made. There is nothing else to our experience other than its knowing. And that is the experience of love. So from the point of view of pure knowing, that is all that knowing is ever knowing. From the point of view of an imaginary knower of experience, love, like happiness, is sometimes experienced, sometimes not. In other words, love, like happiness, is a state that I, the apparently located knower of experience, experiences from time to time. And in other words, we are sometimes happy, sometimes unhappy. We love some people, but not others. That is from the point of view of a located, separate knower of experience. But that knower is an illusory center of experience. From the only real point of view, the one that truly knows, pure knowing, the only experience it knows is knowing. In other words, I'm calling it, this pure knowing never knows, finds, or comes in contact with anything other than itself. And that is love. And because there is nothing in its experience other than itself, there is nothing to resist. What do we call the absence of resistance? It's called happiness. There's no resistance to experience. It's what we call happiness or peace. In other words, peace, happiness, or love are what knowing, what pure awareness is, what pure awareness experiences all the time. Now we could ask the question, why don't I, the apparently separate self, experience love and happiness all the time, if it is my ever-present nature? And it is because from the point of view of that separate self, this knowing is not borderless, eternal, without limits. It is identical to, it is in its own view of itself, it is considered to be identical to the body and the mind. So from its point of view, which is an illusory point of view, from the separate self's point of view, happiness and peace and love seem to be states that come and go. But they are only states that come and go from the illusory point of view of a separate self. If we think and feel we are a separate self, happiness and love will be states that come and go, that we experience in relation to some situations and people and not in relation to others. But from the point of view of pure knowing, which is the only real point of view, happiness is its nature, is its ever-present experience. Happiness, peace, or love, they're the same thing.